Hey, just me again, Ross Lai. Another update from yesterday. Just in case you're wondering why I ended up this situation. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was 1999. My uncle asked me to come out to the West Coast after going back out to the prairies, being Saskatchewan, to see if the plumbing and pipe fitting trade was going to be my way of life or not, because I've already did 2.5 years and I went back to do another 3 or 4 months because there's some work out there, and I just finished my job at Mount Washington, which is in the Comox Valley. It's a ski resort. I went out there, worked for a guy named Stuart Polo Mechanical, worked for the summer, got laid off, was on EI, and in February of 1999, my uncle's trailer, or mobile home, got broken into outside of Shirley, BC, which is outside of Souk, which is outside of Victoria. So, as a precaution to make him feel a little safer in life, I decided to fly out from Saskatoon to Victoria, which my uncle picked me up. Well, lived out there for the summer, and about August, my mother wanted to see me. Figured, hey, it'd be a better place to look for a job rather than being out in Souk, and my uncle didn't need me to hang out there because he felt safe again. So I came up here. In that time period of that month, actually it was July, I think, because I worked for a little while for the floor master, Jeff Thomas, putting some hardwood floors on Protection Island with my little brother who worked for him, who I worked for many years before in 1994 with. After that, we came home. I gave my mother $300. 2 days later, I was sitting on her couch. I couldn't go anywhere. It was blistering hot outside. She's always complaining about me looking for work. I was looking in the newspapers, didn't see anything worthwhile. La da 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 da. She came in on her day off, a little pissed, a little stoned. Whap! She comes running in from the kitchen after she went over her friend's Georgina's house. Slapped me in the face. You little fucker! You didn't fucking clean up the mess in the kitchen. Well, my brother's dog, a golden retriever, had just spilt a whole thing of water after I mopped the floor, because it was just a puppy. Well, takes it out on me. It's not even my dog. Goes into the other room, grabs an ashtray, and throws it at me. Basically assaults me. I go and have a coffee. As I'm coming out, she attacks me again in the hallway. So I was forced to pin my mother against the floor, not the floor, but the wall, and tell her not to hit me again. She goes running out of the house, who knows where. Afterwards, she comes back. I left, went down to Pat and Rose's house, used the phone, and called the RCMP of Comox Valley. Comox Valley said, hey, Mr. Lai, our best scenario is for you to leave the house and never go back there for now. Till your mom winds down. Fine. So I grabbed my stuff and sat outside for a couple days, trying to figure out where I should go now, because I had to look for a job. So I went for a walk. Couldn't find any work. Well, went for a couple weeks on a little bus trip out to the prairies just to cool down, over to Vancouver, down to Victoria, trying to figure out where I was going to live on the street for the first little while. Because what did I do? I went to social services. And they made me so pissed off it wasn't funny. Judy Williams says she couldn't help me put me on assistance either. They couldn't give me one single dime. You're stuck living on the street. Well, I was so pissed off I left there. Never went back for a full year. Claire Stevens of the social services then gave me food allotment after 1 year of living on the street, living on nothing. Which in that 1 year, to survive, I begged for money, got shopping cart quarters out of the shopping cart things out in front of Overweighty, got punched in the mouth, broke my tooth, had a victim services thing with Stephen Wright looked after, or Constable Stephen Wright of the RCMP of Comox Valley. Worked at the Comox Valley Food Bank for the full year to keep dry during the day. And at night, I just found a good place I could tarp down and hide as best as I could. That went on for 2.5 years. I was offered a few jobs along the way, which I didn't get paid. One for $1,500, which the Comox Valley Labor Board and the BC Access Center on Cliff says, oh, they owe you the money, but we can't do anything to get the money for you. What's the Labor Board for, then, if that's their means to get money from people and take the money from other people? So about 2.5 years later, or 2 years later, my brother was doing some hardwood floors on Harmston for the renovation group or something like that. They were doing his old Victorian house. And They needed somebody to fix some insulation and do some general labor because their labor ran off the job, offered me 12 bucks an hour. So I did a month and a half's work doing that because I needed new shoes and needed a new bag because somebody brought their dog by and pissed all over it, so it smelled like dog pee. Not even washing it cleaned it. In that time period, my bag got stolen from the porch of the house. Mark, who worked at the job shop and was an ex-communications officer from the military of Canada, was one of the roommates in this house that I was working on this renovation. He was renting one of the rooms. So, my bag with my tent, my sleeping bag, my clothes, my food, my stove, everything I was living out of was in there to live in. So for 3 days I was utterly depressed, went to the record, boom, or the Echo I mean, and they put a thing in there. Week later I got a new bag, or my bag back. Mountain Meadows was a camping store at the time, gave me a brand new bag. They were going to give me a bunch of other stuff, but luckily my bag came back. They said, just keep the bag. Thank you very much for your honesty. A couple people offered me donations for 200 bucks here, 200 bucks there, but I said, no, I'll work on it myself, because why have people think they own you? They do a good deed for you, they think, hey, you're going to do something for them, because it seems to be that way, hey? They own you for giving you something, which is ridiculous. Nobody owns a person. Out of that job, out of the renovation group for Kevin Bonner, oh, and Best Siding in town, Dan, I got paid $750, which they still owe me $800 plus interest, according to Section 78, or 88 of the Labor Board, which Bob Carell, again, couldn't get my full wage, and still hasn't up to this day. And that's been something like 8 years now of interest compiling on this $800, and the Labor Board doesn't get it. I looked for jobs at the job shop. I applied for jobs in the military. I just don't have enough references and people don't know me as well. Every time you look for a job in a small town, words travel. Anybody who lives on the street, they try to make you pay back your debt to society because they think you're a freeloader. They try to make your life feel miserable, unwanted, and unhappy. They think, oh, you lived on the street on nothing? We don't have to pay you nothing. At least that's the idea I get in my brain from these people. Which, I grew up in this Comox Valley, till grade 11 and 12. Spent 2 more years here. The only time I left was in 1995 to 97. I was in Saskatchewan because my birth father asked me to go out there for a holiday to visit him. And my uncle, or my mom's brother, happened to live there, and he found me a job working with him in the piping welding trades, or pipe fitters trades, so I could learn a trade, which lasted 2.5 years while I was out there. Thank goodness he gave me a little bit of that, which I did construction in the Comox Valley and helped a little bit, but not much. Metal is different than wood, and insulation is different than them both, because welding and all that other kind of stuff that goes along with it. When I came back too, after I got on social services after a few years, I found I had fractures in my back from one, a car accident in 1994 of February, which I had 2 of them, which were my misdiagnosed. The 50-pound backpack plus that I walked around with for 2.5 years hurt it even more so, so it really stops me from doing certain things in construction trade again. It's not that I'm not willing to work, it's certain work over and over and over again, repetitive work, heavy lifting such as in construction, which, hey, we're all just dogs in construction with a bunch of journeymen yelling at us all the time. Come here, boy, do this. Here, boy, go do that. All over the place. And we basically get paid low wages, 75% for a first year, so on and so on as the years go on. Long and short of it, the Labor Board, getting back to that, ensures if they can't get money out of people for our lost wages, then what use and good are they? They don't give us any self-confidence to go to work for any companies if they can't retrieve our money. Period. What use is a social worker of a labor board who's making $60,000 a year, I guess, or $40,000 a year, sitting their asses doing nothing in a room half the time, such as Bob Carell, who can't